What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode. I'm the Real Fanboy, and today we want to talk about the GoPro Hero 7, and I want to do a 3-month review of this camera, and I want to let you know if it's good, if you should buy it, should wait for the next one, or if it's been a failure. So I am the Real Fanboy, and I do camera reviews, camera tutorials. I do a little bit of comedy, so if you guys are into that kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe. Join the crew. I'm making 2 videos a week, and next week I have some lens reviews coming for Micro Four Thirds and APS-C cameras. So make sure to subscribe and don't miss any of the videos. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the GoPro Hero 7, and I want to talk about some negatives, some positives, and also some elements of the camera that I hope that GoPro fixes set on the next version, the GoPro Hero 8. So first of all, I want to talk to you guys about what do I use this camera for. So I use this camera just as it's intended to, as an action camera. So I mount it on my bicycle, I go on hikes, I go underwater, and I actually like this camera for being really active. But not just that, but I also use it for vlogging. This is my main vlogging camera, and it's my favorite vlogging camera for a couple of reasons, and the main one is because of the size. It's really small, and I like being small. I'm a father of 2 kids, and I like giving this camera to them so they can also record some stuff, and I love this camera for that. So let's talk about some of the positives. So the first one, it's the audio, because I found the audio to be really good for vlogging, the in-body audio. So, you know, any in-body camera is gonna have its limitations, especially because, you know, the microphone is not directional, but that you're gonna get that on every camera. And the audio, it is a little muffled, but I actually been really impressed by what I get out of the microphones of this camera. So next one, and I know this one's gonna be kind of funny, but the low light, compared to the GoPro Hero 5, the low light performance of this camera is really good. Quick tip for anyone out there: you gotta make sure that you keep the camera in maximum ISO of 400. So if you leave the ISO on auto, what the camera is gonna do is it's gonna blow up the ISO on low light situations, making it look disgusting. So if you keep it at 400, I found it pretty useful. Now, when I mean by low light, I mean indoor situations. I mean at you know, when you have a small sources of light. In pitch dark or in very dark situations, the camera, of course, really falls apart. But for what I do, my vlogs, the low light has actually been really good. And with the latest firmware update, it got a lot better. And also, you don't get a lot of the jitters from the image stabilization. Next one is the image quality. I love the image quality out of this camera. I like the picture profile, the GoPro picture profile. So I don't do a lot of you know, color grading, and maybe I should. I wanna try, and I might make a video about color grading the flat profile. But if you want to use just the GoPro color profile, I like it. It looks a little bit like Canon. I think they try to mimic the Canon color profile, and it actually looks pretty good. And that's what I mainly use. All right, next let's talk about the Hyper Smooth, because the Hyper Smooth it's incredible. It honestly, I don't know how they did it, because even on the GH5 or the G85, when you have a very wide angle lens, the IBIS suffers a lot. So on this camera, you have a very wide angle lens, but you also get a really good smooth image stabilization. I compare with the Osmo, and a lot of times I like this one better, which is really, really impressive for this camera. And you have to try it. If you guys are on the fence, go to a store, try to get your hands on a GoPro, ask a friend who has one, and check it out, because it is really impressive. I have a review over in the corner, so please go check that out, because that is hands down one of my favorite features of this camera. And now let's talk about the time warp. The time warp is this feature which is a moving time lapse. It's a hyperlapse, and it's great. It's really, really awesome, and it's a great way to be more creative with your shots, and it's something that I've been using more and more If you guys are into the Instagram and if you guys want to up your game on Instagram, Time Warp, it's a great way to show places, to show locations, to tell stories. I love it. I use it a lot, and it gets addictive of how fun it is to use Time Warp. Here's some samples, and every time we go to a theme park, every time we go to a place, maybe I'm riding my bike, I use Time Warp a lot. All right, now let's talk into the negatives. I'm gonna try to be a little bit faster on this one. So the first one, it's the live streaming. I haven't been able to figure out. I want to do it, but every time I try to set it up, the camera gets really hot. I haven't had like overheating or the camera turning off, but I just wish it was simpler, and I just wish it was a little bit more stable for live streaming. I'm gonna try it again, but that is one of the downsides, because that is something that I was really excited to use on this camera, but I haven't been able to. The super photo mode, it's cool. Do not get me wrong. I think it is really cool, and the images do come out really nice. The problem with super photo mode is that if I'm out and about, maybe I'm at a park, I'm on a vacation, I'm on a hike, I want to take a picture and I want to go. But with super photo, you got to take the picture and then you got to wait for the picture to process. And that takes maybe 5-6 seconds, and that kind of kills the fun of taking pictures. So I actually turned it off. I'm just taking regular pictures on the GoPro, which is still good. And then I go on my phone and I use Lightroom, and I edit my pictures. So I wish GoPro will have an option where you can save the photos and then bring them to your phone and then edit them later, because the super photo mode just takes too long to process. Now let's move on to battery life, and this one I noticed that the Hero 7, it's a little bit worse than the Hero 5 for battery life, and I think the main reason is because this is processing a lot more because of the image stabilization. So if you own a GoPro, I will say if you're trying to vlog with a camera like this, a good day is gonna run you at least 3 to 4 batteries. So if you only have one battery, it's not gonna be enough. You're not gonna have fun shooting with the camera. But honestly, if that's the cost for the great image stabilization, I'll take it. I don't care. But just keep in mind, if you're gonna buy this camera, buy a couple batteries. And I think that GoPro right now has a promotion that if you buy the camera, you get an extra battery. So make sure to do that. Now let's talk about the vertical mode. So if you guys see right now, if I flip the camera, well, it's not doing it right now. But if oh yeah, I know it is doing it. I'm sorry. So if I flip the camera, you are in vertical mode, and now you can shoot like Instagram. So what happens, and the problem is that sometimes it will get stuck in vertical mode. So you are out and about, or doing a vlog, doing a hike, and then you notice that the image is either upside down or sideways, and that's not what you want. So the camera, I feel like it gets a little bit of a hard time deciding which mode it is. I wish you could lock it. I wish it could be like vertical lock or horizontal lock, so that wouldn't happen. But I find myself shaking the camera a lot. So like, I'm about to shoot and I notice that I'm upside down or I'm sideways, so I have to shake it to see if the camera resets back to horizontal. It gets a little bit of annoying, not a deal breaker, but something to keep in mind. This is just a standard GoPro. This camera will freeze, and I've had it freeze a couple times. I think the firmware update made it a little bit more stable, but there's something about these cameras that they're just not, their software is not stable enough. Like I've used Panasonic cameras, I've used Canon cameras, I've used Sony cameras, and I've never encountered a problem where the camera freeze. With the GoPro, you're gonna, like, if you go out, let's say I went to Universal Studios and the camera froze a couple times, and I always had to take the battery out, put it back in. It works right after, but the software is just not stable enough. And this one is probably the biggest problem that I have with the camera, and this might be a deal breaker for you, but the camera will stop working on low temperatures. So I like to do hikes, and I do mountain hiking, and when you go up and summit mountains, it gets really cold. I've been on places where we're on the single digits, and the camera will just die. So if you don't have your battery at a minimum of 65%, the camera will just go crazy. The battery indicator will go from 60% to 20% to 5% and then turn off. And then once you go back to a warmer place, the battery will go back to 60, 70, whatever it was originally. That is really annoying. I've been to places where we're summiting a mountain and the camera dies, so I have to rely on my phone or something else or miss the moment to record. So that is really annoying. So if you are planning on doing any activities on low temperatures, that sucks. I also saw a video that, this is below 0 temperatures. The Hypersmooth will stop working because the camera just cannot function in a very cold situations. So something to keep in mind. It's been a little bit annoying, I'm not gonna lie, and especially being at a place where I want to rely on my camera and the camera just fails on me. But overall, I think that these are not deal breakers. I think the camera, it's been just fantastic. I think the positives outweigh the negatives, and the price, I think it's a fantastic camera. One last thing I wanted to mention too is the material that the camera has. I feel like it's very easy to scratch. Look right here, you can see I have a little scratch, and I noticed that putting in and out the case, you can see right here that the camera, it's getting a little bit scratched. So I don't know how this camera is gonna look in a year from today without the case. Luckily, I have this very cool protective silicone lace, so this protects the camera and is great for vlogging, but something to keep in mind, and I wish they will go back to the old material. Alright, so let's run real quick with some things that I would like GoPro to update for the GoPro Hero 8. And now this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I would like them to add a front screen here that is actually an LCD that you can see and frame yourself. I noticed that this screen, it's just a tiny bit smaller than the Osmo Pocket, so I actually think it's possible, and that would be a great way for you to frame yourself. GoPro, if you could do that, that would be kind of amazing. I know it's like a little weird thing to ask for, but I would love it. It would be great if they will add a portrait mode, just like your phone. You take a picture, digitally you can blur the background. If they can do something like this on the GoPro, it would be great for taking more pictures. Now the pictures on this camera are awesome, but now it's done digitally, the portrait mode. So that would be something that I would really love seeing on this camera, because then this will be the one camera, the only camera that we use for all my travel photography. And yeah, that would be pretty awesome. It would be also great if they could improve the low light performance of this camera. I don't know how they can do this, but if they can match the Osmo Pocket's low light performance, this camera will be a perfect vlogging camera, because that's the only situation. And yes, I know I said that the low light performance is pretty decent, and I stand by that, but compared to the Osmo Pocket, that was the one thing that I noticed that the Osmo Pocket would do a lot better than this camera. They have a very similar sensor size. The Osmo Pocket does have a little bit of a faster lens, and I feel like that's where that camera, it's better. That's why I think that camera is better in low light. So if they could do that on this camera, it would be amazing. And last but not least, I would love GoPro to add a microphone input to this camera. The microphone adapter is really dumb. It's huge. It's a big brick, and it makes no sense on this form factor. They need to come up with either a microphone that you can very seamlessly connect right here, or maybe a better adapter, or just have a microphone jack in there, or just have a USB microphone. But this does not work. The connection right now with the microphone adapter, it's really annoying. I know I said that the microphone sounds good on this camera, but for certain situations you want better audio. So if I wanted to do some videos with this camera on my studio, I might have to put a microphone on it, and it would be great that if I could do it without the huge brick. But with that being all, I highly recommend this camera. I think it's amazing. I have a review over in the corner. I also have a test of this camera versus the Osmo Pocket, and in my opinion, I think this is a much better option. And that's it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video, and this is a new format that I'm trying to bring to my channel, where I just talk. I'm not scripting anything. I'm not doing any high productions. It's just me talking to the camera. I want to get better at talking to the camera. I want to be better at communicating without the need of a script. So if you guys like this kind of video, let me know. If you guys want me to go back to the old format, let me know. But I want to mix them up a little bit. And if you guys want to pick a GoPro Hero 7, I'm going to leave an affiliate link down below. If you guys use my link, I do get a little bit of a kickback, and that's a great way to help my channel at no cost to you. So thank you for watching. I am The Real Fanboy. Bye bye.